Okay, this is the intro for the podcast. Yo. Yo, we're the Silver Screen Fiends, yo, we're the Silver Screen Fiends, yo. Hey, watching movies, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Silver Screen Fiends podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
I'm Joey.
And we are back at A Shared Universe PodcaStudio with our engineer, Big Kahuna.
What's up?
And we are also joined back again with our lovely boy, Blake from Loudmouth Threads. How you doing, Blake?
Perpetual special guest.
Yes, this is now just the show. Like we have just ditched the old format. So, fellas, we in the mood to mingle about some Midsommar?
Movies.
Maybe some Hereditary?
Movies suck.
I know. So guys, let's do a little housekeeping first.
Well, we literally haven't done an episode together in how long?
A year.
It's been like 2 months, probably.
It's been a while.
I would say probably 2 months.
Well, you went on a little trip recently.
I did.
How was that?
It was fun. I went to Boston and Massachusetts.
All right, that's enough.
All right.
He got me a lovely Cheers glass that I already own two of.
I was pissed.
No, it's fucking awesome.
Dude, the shirts were like $60. And I was like, and I asked you, I was like, oh, what's your size? And then I went in and I was like,
glass.
yeah, I was like, I'm getting you fucking
That's why,
glass,
like,
bro.
I showed my girlfriend what you got me, and because she got me the Cheers mugs, and she's like, "Didn't he ask you for your T-shirt size?" I'm like, "Yeah." What's wrong
I'm
with that?
broke. It was literally the last day I was in Boston. I was dead broke.
You should have brought me.
But I still thought of you. So
should have brought me the Fraser Crane cutout.
yeah, that was actually pretty funny. Yeah, that wasn't like the legit like Cheers, like where it was filmed. It was filmed, or not filmed, but like I don't know if it was filmed there, but
I don't know where it was
It was
filmed.
around the block from the actual place that I went.
Like the exterior shots were
Yeah,
shot there.
basically.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Also a Cheers fan. I just started. It's a great show.
I just finished a year ago, and it's a wild ride.
Oh.
It's a tame wild ride,
Frasier?
though. It's nothing crazy.
Okay.
Crazy.
No, I was expecting Sons of Anarchy in a bar.
Oh, you might, yeah, in the 70s. So let's totally kill the mood right now.
Oh,
Yesterday we lost Rip Torn at the ripe age of 88.
ripe.
I gotta say, rip to Rip, man.
Rip,
it fucking sucks.
Rip
He
the
was
Rip.
a great actor. We all joke about Freddie got fingered, but he was a great character
He was
actor.
in Larry Sanders Show.
He was
very good.
He was
and,
also in Dodgeball.
Men in Black. Those were my favorites, but I really liked him in the Larry Sanders Show.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how old he was because he has perpetually been that age since I've been born.
Yeah, like when I saw Men in Black, and I was like, oh, he's old. And then Dodgeball, oh, yeah, he's old. Like,
Yeah, but it really sucks. I told my dad, and he like almost broke down. It's just
do you guys kiss?
we did kiss.
Oh, shit.
We kissed under the Midsommar tree.
Oh, yeah.
Stop.
Anyway,
It's a bear.
so also quickly, we have to iron out the details. But towards the end of the month, we'll just plug it because we plug it every time we talk about it. The Criterion sale is going on at Barnes & Noble. And go do it. You like film. Even if you hate it, just buy it. And we're going to do a little video in Barnes & Noble's, provided they'll let us do it. I'm sure they will.
We
They're
can just
losing
do
business.
it. Who cares? Fuck them.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, if they do, if they say something, we'll just go do another Barnes and Noble until we can finish the whole video.
You're going to get a message after this
Yeah.
podcast be like, excuse me,
Yeah,
what did you say about our company?
We're gonna be banned. I can't wait.
We'll be joined by our friend Zach, but we'll have details on that soon.
Yeah.
I'll probably post it.
It'll be on our RedTube, right? Oh wait, that's my kid.
So we also ran a poll about this a while ago on Twitter, but I'm also toying around with the idea of doing a weekly or bi-weekly watch party where we just host like a public domain movie and just shit talk it the entire time.
Ooh.
We have to iron out details because I don't know about copyright when you're watching movies on stream, but it'd be fun if we added live
I've
chat or
seen
something.
podcasts about that though. Like it's just like them like doing commentary for the movie.
Yeah, I've seen people do it, and it's kind of tough to do it and not come across as Mystery Science Theater, but I would like to do it. I
Yeah.
think it'd be fun. Anyway,
No.
Joe, what have you recently watched?
Toy Story 4?
I still haven't. Fuck.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah, it was okay.
Don't lie.
Just okay? No, I didn't see
Oh,
it.
you
it
still
was
haven't
good.
seen it?
I didn't see
Oh,
it.
I thought you did.
It was good. I saw that and then I said I saw Midsommar.
Whoa.
Summer.
I'm calling it Midsummer. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
just say
calling it that.
Midsummer. I literally have pronounced it.
I can't pronounce that.
I know there was like 300 different ways to say it. I
Um,
don't fucking know.
But yeah, saw Midsummer twice.
twice.
I knew I had to see it twice to like actually gain like a better opinion on it.
Yeah, I want to see it again. I only saw it once.
Yeah,
Same.
I didn't really like come to, like I knew I enjoyed it, but I was like I have to like sit down. I did the same. Well, I haven't actually. I only saw Hereditary once, and then that was it. But I still own the Blu-ray and am too afraid to watch it again. So
I actually, in preparation, plus the fact that I've had to watch it, I watched it last Friday for the first time.
yeah, I told you to.
I can't believe it took you that
I was like,
long.
watch
He's
it
been
before
telling
we
me-
go. Just watch it.
He's been telling me to do. You do this with every movie, and I'm just like, I'll get to it, and then I curse myself because I'm like, this is such a fucking good
Yeah.
movie.
A lot
I
of time
definitely
it's
thought
whenever
you saw
like whenever it's like when something else is about to come out, like that the director just made, I'll be like, watch this real quick before we go see it.
Yeah. So Midsommar, let's get into it.
Trash. Hated it.
Before we get into spoilers and whatnot, I guess let's just quickly get an honest impression around the table of what you thought. Yeah. Blake first.
I loved it, and I want to see it again.
Perfect. I loved it. I also want to see it again.
I hated it. Never want to see it again. No.
Do you even
Never
like-
saw it. Probably won't see it.
It was very. I enjoyed it. I would give it a solid
Stop
4
smacking your
stars.
lips.
You keep doing that. I'm going to throw you out.
So I would give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars.
I would also. That is what I gave it on Letterboxd, and I firmly believe in that rating. I think it was great. It was a good time, but certainly a unique and creepy experience. I had no idea. Like most trailers these days, they cut it in a way where it reveals the whole fucking plot of the movie.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised to see that when I saw all these trailers. It was like, well, it's like a weird folk festival, but I don't know. Like, is it a cult or is it?
Honestly,
it,
that's good to hear that it doesn't reveal too much in the
yeah.
trailers.
Like I had no idea.
I find that awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much to the marketing company because that just ruined the new Halloween for me. Because I just watched the new Halloween movie for the first time.
Yeah.
Loved it. But almost every kill is in the trailer. And it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. But I
Yeah,
was
these
like,
days they reveal the whole plot in one trailer, and yeah,
it's a bit nutty.
yeah.
And I even thought that Midsommar trailer revealed a lot more than the Hereditary trailer did. Because Hereditary, like I saw that movie and I was like, I was not expecting this to be the movie.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot.
Like
of
I was
people.
very shocked
Yeah.
watching that movie.
When I saw Hereditary, I was like, oh yeah, this will be like kind of creepy, and like the whole, I was like, yeah, I was completely was like,
yeah,
I
like
don't-
halfway through the movie, I remember being like, "What is this? What is this movie about?"
And then by the end, you're really like,
Yeah.
what is this movie
Yeah.
about?
It's been, what, 2 years since that movie came out, or a year?
It's 2018.
So I think we're past spoiler territory. So for someone who hasn't seen Hereditary, like, what was the gist of it?
All right.
Like, what
so,
was so creepy about it?
So I'm probably gonna dive mainly into the plot of Midsommar. So if Joe or Blake want to handle the plot of Hereditary,
I
yeah,
don't
well,
even know how to.
it's
describe
kind
the
of
plot
it is
Hereditary.
hard to describe it.
It's,
So
I know you just saw it. Like it has been a while. I saw it in theaters, so it's been a while. But I know you just watched it last week. But like, if I miss anything, just let me know. But
Yeah.
basically, I literally completely forgot. what the fuck the movie was. Literally, I was about to like go in, and I was like, I'm like trying to find the words to like. Oh my god!
you just loved it so much that you're at a loss of words.
So basically, I don't know any of the characters' names. I can't remember them. But the actress Toni Collette, her mother, was basically, I'm gonna fuck this up big time, but she was a part of like this cult basically, and that's kind of all I really want to say from there because I feel like I will spoil it if I go too much into it because it is like it's. That movie is like I really went into like I just saw like one teaser for that and stayed away from everything else, and like the trailers don't really show much, but yeah, just know that it's like basically about like Toni Collette's mom was a part of a cult and it kind of just goes from there, and she does die in like the beginning of the movie basically, and then it kind of just goes from there and all this like weird shit starts happening from there. And it also kind of brings into a weird like paranormal element into it, which I didn't really expect at all. And that's where like a lot of people that like talk to to me about the movie. Like they were lost from that. Like once it became kind of paranormal.
Once it became kind of a ghost story.
Yeah,
then it was
and which
like,
I thought it was kind of cool, but
That's what like hooked me into
Yeah,
it was the
same.
paranormal stuff.
Same.
See, that's kind of what I heard. Does Midsommar do the same? Where it's like it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I recall, I think I was talking with you about this, that in one of the initial trailers for Midsommar, they show a scene where Danny or somebody is like being levitated.
Yeah, you see like feet levitating off the ground.
Yeah,
it's
and
not in the movie.
And they cut that out, and I think the reason being is Ari Aster just completely wanted to avoid the element of paranormal activity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's even creepier when you omit that aspect because this movie essentially, I mean, we're going to dive deep into the plot, but just on a surface level is just about like tradition and rituals and people.
Oh no, that's horrifying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so when the actions are being committed by like seemingly normal people, you're like,
oh
holy
shit.
fuck. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, there goes the normalcy. But it's also, that goes back to just bringing up Halloween. It goes back to that thing where it's like Michael Myers is on that verge of paranormal, but it's like, it's still human, but still creepy enough that it's like, oh shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was something that surprised me about Midsommar is I was waiting for something supernatural to happen and it never happened.
I kind of was too. And I was happy when nothing did happen.
Yeah.
I feel like Hereditary was definitely a little bit scarier, in my opinion. Like this was like more just unsettling the whole time. Like I was just so like unsettled the entire film.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was a part where I was like super terrified, really.
Yeah, I actually think that despite the general positive reviews this movie's getting, I have already spoken to a bunch of people that are mixed on it because they were expecting to go into this like fully creep the fuck out. They're like, this was supposed to be a full-on horror movie and now it's a black comedy with a little bit of creep. But like, that was never the point, I feel. Like, the trailers never told me, like, it's supposed to be horror. It's a drama. It's a dramatic thriller.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you guys that. Do you consider it a horror movie? Because it's kind of hard to call it that.
I honestly didn't.
No.
I don't either.
No, I call it.
I wouldn't call it a horror movie.
I call it a drama/thriller with aspects of black comedy to break the tension.
And I think
that's
it was
literally what it is.
I think it was marketed as horror and sort of like people expected it to be horror because of Hereditary, but it's not really a horror movie.
Yeah.
But also, horror is such a subjective term that, like, people associate horror with, like, slasher or gore. But it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, like, a horror movie just at its very basic definition is trying to scare you. And I don't think Midsommar was necessarily trying to scare you as much as, like, unsettle you and, like, disturb you.
Yeah.
And just make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like, I would say Midsommar is whatever genre you would consider like David Lynch movies.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of like
that's interesting.
I saw them as very similar between like a David Lynch type movie and Midsommar, and I don't know what genre I would necessarily call that.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know about literally by the end of it, I literally just looking at the screen like, what the hell? I literally like, there were definitely moments where I was like super confused.
Yeah.
But like it was really weird because like I thought the audience overall was like, because I went opening night first showing and it was like sold out, but I could tell that like half the crowd like had no idea what they were going to see at all, and like certain scenes like. There was literally just full laughter in the theater. Like everyone was
I've
laughing.
heard people saying that too. Yeah.
And I wasn't laughing. I just thought like, I thought it was funny that people were laughing. Cause I just like, I guess people were like, I don't know. Sometimes like when there's like a scene that's like super uncomfortable, people just laugh so they don't feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, not like, it's not really spoils too much, but like the like, basically like the whole orgy scene type of, well not the orgy, but like that scene when he's in there with the girl and it's just like a bunch of naked women and like that scene everyone was dying laughing and like I thought it was like a little bit funny but like it was just disturbing. Like I didn't think it was really hilarious.
Let's roll back because we're gonna dive deep.
Yeah, like that was just a random scene, but
yeah. So Midsommar, as we have been discussing, is a folk cult horror film directed by Ari Aster, aka Daddy.
Relax.
AK my new favorite modern horror director.
Yeah,
same.
I'm really excited.
If he releases one more movie of this caliber, he is going to be like a new legend.
Yeah.
A second movie is a hard one to win people over with too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive.
So fun fact, and I didn't know this. This movie was originally pitched as like a straightforward slasher film.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Ari Aster wrote the screenplay and was like, "Well, you know what? I kind of want to make like a breakup the main conflict because he was either recently going through a breakup or he had a really bad one in the past year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you know what? Let me write about that and let me get the tension out of me onto the paper. So I definitely agree with that direction though because Ari Aster, I wouldn't doubt that he could pull off a slasher, but somebody with more of an artful touch like his, I think, fits this genre a lot better.
Yeah, just based on like Hereditary, since other than Midsommar, that's all we have. I don't see slasher really being his style. He's more of like his movies are more about like the atmosphere and like this feeling of like dread over
for sure.
Like the sort of like overt like kills and gore and stuff that you would see in a slasher. And I think that I'm glad that it didn't go that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so from this point forward, we were talking full-on spoilers. So if no one saw the movie,
Suck eggs.
still watch because we need the views.
Honestly, like it's not really one of those type of movies where it's like spoiler heavy. It's like it's not like you tell me something that's in that movie. I'm like, oh no, like I was gonna go like it's.
You can kind of figure out what's going to happen by the trailer well enough.
Just
that
a fair warning
spoil
to
it.
anyone who cares about spoilers. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
So the
comedy. I love comedy.
So the film
Comedy
follows
Cowboy.
that GIF though before we got here.
Comedy Cowboy.
So do you have that as like an email handle, by the way?
What, Comedy Cowboy?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was just like my thing for a little bit, and then
You should register.
I got rid of it, so I still like say it all the time, and all my friends say it to me. Like whenever something's like funny or like not really that funny, I'm like Comedy Cowboy.
I love it. So the film follows Danny, young 20-year-old something who's in college.
Denny,
and she succumbs to severe emotional
you're
trauma.
not my fucking mother.
After her very bipolar sister commits a murder/suicide
Dude, that
involving
scene
her parents.
was intense.
I
was wild.
was not expecting
Yeah, I was
that.
like, oh yeah, she like just sat in the car and like closed the.
That's
garage.
what I
And I was like,
thought.
yo, that is like terrifying.
Wait, also before we even get into that, that very first opening of the movie, that painting. You remember that?
Yeah, that was wild.
It literally is it's the movie. Like that painting is the whole plot of the movie, which is pretty cool.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't even like. I looked like kind of into it.
Yeah.
but I didn't really.
There's so many
If you
details
look
you're
at
gonna
it,
miss.
it tells the entire story of the movie.
Yeah, and
Wow.
throughout the movie, like between all the tapestries and all the paintings, it's like he said, they tell you the whole movie. It's
Yeah, I could definitely notice with some of them that.
it's a movie you gotta watch.
Yeah, that
again.
was a pretty cool choice. I thought that like a lot of what's going on is being told to you in the background
That's really
of
cool.
scenes. Yeah.
And just to preface all of this, I really appreciate how because in a lot of movies there's that stereotypical trope halfway through where it's either it comes from the villain or somebody who was like spying on the main antagonist, and they basically reveal the entire plot and the whole lineage and history of why they're doing it. This movie like just covers it at a base level, like just enough to creep you out, but not enough for you to like understand why the hell they do this. So just to preface all of this with that. So yeah, so Danny, because she's all grief struck by this, she leans on Christian, who is a very emotionally distant boyfriend. And he's like typical fuckboy.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't really give a shit about anything. He's like trying to get a PhD in anthropology, but
Dude,
he also
was
just likes
such
to
an
do
ass.
nothing and smoke weed and
Yeah.
eat pizza. Like, yeah, he's a real ass.
They're all really good actors. All of them are like super good young. I've seen them all in
yeah.
like smaller things. Like the boyfriend, he was in Sing Street. I saw that one.
Isn't his name like Jack?
I'm pretty sure he's.
or
He has a heavy Irish accent.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
in real life.
Yeah.
I watched like a little like press junket thing, and
Yeah.
he has an accent. Danny has an accent. Like everybody has accents that I did not realize watching the movie.
I must say that Will Poulter as Mark was perfect.
Yeah,
casting.
he was really, really good.
I thought he killed it in that. So
and
yeah.
their other friend, he was in that show, The Good Place.
Which one, Josh or Pele?
I don't remember their names.
The Swedish one or the other guy?
Not the Swedish one.
Right?
Oh,
There's
okay.
only 4 of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The one who's like actually doing his like thesis on
Yeah,
Midsommar.
yeah.
Josh. That's Josh.
Yeah,
yeah.
he was really cool. I
okay.
really liked him.
Yeah, so Christian, who's basically just been hanging on to this relationship out of pity, and Danny's like trying to lean on him, and all of his friends, which we just kind of went over, Josh, Pele, Mark, have been trying to convince him to like, dude, get out. You're unhappy. She keeps blowing up your phone. We're trying to chill. And then Danny and Christian end up going to a party, and that's where Danny finds out that Christian plans on going to this. Their one friend Pele is Swedish, and
Dude, he was so fucking weird the whole movie.
they are very.
He was
weird.
good at being weird.
Yeah, like he's just like, oh yeah,
And he was very good at not revealing anything.
Like out of all the characters, like you could tell with the other characters in the camp that something weird was going to happen, but with him it just seemed like, oh yeah, we're just going on this cool vacation.
Yeah.
Which like, he also like, not to like go all around, but like when they're sitting in the apartment after the party, when they're talking about Sweden, and what is he drawing? He says a table, but is he actually drawing a table?
I gotta watch it again.
I couldn't see what he would because he closes it really quick.
Yes, when I was watching it, it did look like a table, and it looked like, from what I could gather, a bunch of objects that pertained to the festivities.
Okay.
Like I saw a bunch of flowers on there, and then maybe some other things.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that's what I saw.
Because he closed and it's actually in a few like little like Instagram ads that I've seen for the movie. So like it shows it like real quick, and then he closes the book. Like
yeah,
I just I went for the second time. I was like, oh, I want to pay attention. I still couldn't see what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Like,
actually, a fun little tease in that scene. If you look, actually, this was pointed out by my friend Phil when we discussed it. When Pele's trying to like console Danny and they're talking, on the fridge there's a picture of a scarecrow.
I didn't know
And
that.
so it seems really insignificant, but then we'll get into this later, but then you see what happens to the people and they get stuffed. And
it's the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz.
yeah,
That's what it is.
Yeah, but the way that they foreshadow in this movie is super
I didn't even
cool.
It's
notice
all in the backgrounds. It's crazy.
It's-
I really
it's
like
all in
it.
the
Whoever did like
background.
I don't know if it's like the art, the set, decorate, whatever, did a great job.
The set
'cause it's
design
really
is
cool.
fantastic. And everyone did a great job too as far as like extras go, even because what they do, like another typical trope I hate in horror is when you're just in a scene and it's dark and you can't. And another thing I love about
Which
this
does
movie
not happen
too
often in
is
this
that
movie.
this movie is like 99% in the daylight, which makes it even creepier.
Yeah, it made it like even more terrifying.
Yeah. So, but what I despise in movies is when it's like dark and you get the main character just chilling in the room, and all of a sudden the person just sneaks up behind them, and it's
Those false scares.
it's the
and stuff
jump
like that.
scare, and it's like, well, why I love this movie is because in most of the scenes, if not all of them, you can clearly see when a character is like walking diagonally or walking into a hut or something, you'll just see random people of the commune chilling around, and they're not trying to hide.
Yeah.
But their appearance, because they're not quite in the foreground and not quite in the background, so it's just really weird. It's like really unsettling. So yeah, to bring it back to, after the party, so Danny just like finds out that he bought a ticket already to go to Sweden.
He's
and
like, I just decided today.
yeah.
It's like, what, bro? Like,
I'm pretty sure she says, did you buy a ticket?
yeah. Like, well, I just decided today that I was gonna go.
It's like, way to give
I just
proper
didn't get to
notice.
tell you yet. It's like,
Right.
what, bro? You're going on a trip to fucking Sweden.
I must have slipped my mind for a month and a half too. Like,
Yeah.
that's like
Oh, I
half
must
the
have slipped my
summer.
mind. And she makes a perfect point. It's like, if I just randomly said, oh yeah, I'm going to China with my friends next week for 3 months, but this is Sweden for a month and a half.
Right,
It's like,
yeah.
you're an asshole.
Typical fuckboy antics
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Excuse me. Which I just quick side note. I love how on Twitter it was trending like all these girls talking about like their shitty boyfriends.
Yeah.
I'm like, because really,
good date movie.
He is the model for the worst fucking modern boyfriend
Yeah.
ever. Like he just doesn't care. So Christian, knowing how upset Danny is recently, decides that out of obligation, he's going to awkwardly invite her. And then he's with his friends and he's like, guys, I just want you to know, I'm inviting her, but she's not going to come. But I did invite her, but I swear she's not coming. And then, like, they cut to her, like, when she's
and then
talking.
she doesn't come and the movie's over.
Right.
That's Midsommar.
And then
Like,
the
as soon
credits
as
roll.
she walks in, so, Sweden.
Directed by Ingmar Bergman. So when Pele brings up the death of her parents, because he's like, oh, I could relate, like, my parents died too. This is a really cool shot. She goes into the bathroom to cry.
Yeah.
And then they cut to the plane where she's crying in the bathroom.
Yeah, that was
and I was like,
cool.
I
like
love
that
the
in the trailer a lot.
cinematography.
Yeah, the cinematography was nutty. And like,
Yeah.
whenever they would show, like, they would like pan around the room, and it would be in the mirror, and then it would pan over to what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
That was really
Another
cool.
great-
It reminded me of the zoom ins on the dollhouses in Hereditary.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
a similar kind of
I love
style
that.
of like
Yep.
cut.
Another thing I loved, which is the very next scene, is when they finally arrive in Sweden and they're driving past the banner for the festival.
Mhm.
The now trademark Ari Aster shot where it like flips.
Yeah.
It does like a 180 and then it comes back to the front ground. I love that shot.
That whole sequence was very Shining to
Yeah.
me. Very opening of The Shining.
It was.
There was definitely a lot of.
There
like,
were moments. There
it's
were
completely different film, but there were a lot of moments where you could tell he's like trying to show like little homages to The Shining. Like,
Definitely.
The Shining and The Wicker Man.
yeah,
Like I saw
definitely.
both of those.
and he said that their influences 100%, and like there's direct like you literally like when Danny she's sleeping in the bed, her blanket is like the carpet for The Shining.
Oh,
It's
I
pretty-
didn't even notice
yeah.
that.
He pointed that out
I
to
literally
me.
caught it in the theater like that.
I can't believe I didn't notice
It's
that.
like just enough for somebody
you
who
can see
likes
the,
The
you can see
Shining
the
to
pattern
know.
going straight
That's cool.
across.
Yeah.
And like not going fast forward, but like the little like nightmare little scene that she has, and like the little quick shots of random like acts of violence, like that.
Very,
reminded me of
yeah.
Shine, like
Yeah.
seeing like
The
the,
scenes of-
mom or
and
the
the,
random people.
the scene. It reminds me of the scenes of the elevators in
Yeah.
The Shining.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. So this is when the whole group arrives at the commune, and they're getting introduced to a bunch of people, and then they take what appears, I believe it's shrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they take shrooms together, and Danny at first is a little bit reserved. She's like, well, I want to settle in, and then of course the peer pressure from Mark and Christian and everyone, she ends up just
The
taking
peer
it.
pressure from Mark's eyebrows.
Yo, Mark's eyebrows were the real hero.
Literally the whole
Sorry.
movie.
Man, I just sound like a dick throughout this whole movie.
It's true. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Sorry.
It
Sorry, Big
happens.
Kahuna.
It's all good. It's all good.
So I love so speaking of drugs, I gotta say one other thing I absolutely loved about this movie was this movie is one of the very few out there that actually accurately portrays like psychedelics. Because most movies when they show a scene where a character takes drugs, it's like fucking Tweety Bird appears
Like
and starts
21
singing.
Jump
I'm
Street.
like, yeah, I'm like, that doesn't happen. Or like Starsky and Hutch, like he does cocaine and like a bird from a 30s cartoon appears and sings. I'm like,
Yeah.
literally, I did it for a year. That's never happened. I'm sorry.
I absolutely hate you for referencing the Starsky and Hutch movie.
It was an example. I had to show, and I hate that you
I
understood.
hate that you
the reference.
referenced that.
Listen, I've seen worse films than that. Trust me. So, and it's crazy. Like I've never taken shrooms or acid, but from everyone, I hear the same shit. It's like the trees appear to breathe, and you'll see like these
Which they
weird
definitely do in the movie.
patterns, and like things grow out of things, and they nailed it. Like
Yeah,
they-
those parts when like her hand was on the grass and she could like see
and it
the grass.
blended. Oh
Yeah,
my
that
god,
was cool.
I like that a
love
lot.
And her feet too. They do it with her feet.
Yeah, I thought the way they handled it was great.
Yeah,
And-
that was cool.
And also it worked well for somebody like Mark because all these drug-induced moments, they just provide great commentary on everything going on.
What time is it? It's 9 p.m.
No fucking way.
It's still light out.
Guys, lay down with me. It feels good.
Everyone lay down. Come on.
Yeah, they handled drug use very well in this movie. This group, though, they're not the only Americans around, which is another important thing to note. There's this other couple, Simon and Connie, I believe
Yeah.
her name is.
I think they're from London. They said.
Yeah,
they're English. Yeah. And so why I like this too is that it kind of lulls a viewer into a false sense of security. They're like, oh, there's fellow Americans, or not Americans. There's like people
Outsiders,
not from
yeah.
fellow outsiders, yes. And so now we don't feel as fucking weirded out about things. And then you quickly find out that that doesn't matter. But so up until this point, it's like the movie, the commune's very accepting of the outsiders. They let them in, open arms, anything you need, food, water, shelter, we got you. So up until like a certain point, it's very like calm and serene almost. Like you're like a little weirded out,
nice.
but honestly, like when Joe and I saw it, I was sitting in the theater and I was like, wow, like I don't even feel scared. Like this actually looks like a cool place to live. Mm-hmm. So I think that works very well for like the whole second half of the movie. But anyway, Pele brings his friends to this ritual, and I'm probably gonna fuck up the pronunciation on this, but it's Atestupa. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I couldn't do any better.
So Josh, we should mention that Josh, one of the reasons that they really wanted to take this trip is because Josh wanted to write his thesis on like this, some random tribe or not cult, but like a group of people.
Community?
Thank you, a community. and he wanted to observe them and be like, oh, whatever. So Pele's like, perfect, come here. So
basically the whole thesis was on Midsommar Festival.
Right, exactly. It's which is a 9-day festival. Yeah. So Josh, he hears Pele refer to the name of this ritual, and Josh, the only one who somewhat knows about the history of this Swedish tribe, is like, wait, really? Like that's fucked up, but he won't like tell anybody what it involves. And so they all get there, and there's like a group of people in the community, and there's like this. Oh wait, before that, there's like this feast that they have, and another cool thing is that the way the tables are laid out for the feast, it's kind of like this weird intersecting yet perpendicular pattern. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like it's like a diamond, but then it crosses out more, and that's like throughout the whole movie. Like you'll see that on the tapestries, and so again, I love all the callbacks. Yeah. Like it keeps it consistent. Again, you don't know what it really resembles, but it has something to do with what they're doing.
Yeah, which actually, speaking on that, because I've been like watching videos and stuff since I saw the movie, and there was one with Ari Aster talking about the movie, and apparently like each character has like a rune that's associated with them. And like you'll see it pop up in places that are related to that character.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't remember whose rune was what, but I wonder if that was either Danny's or Christian's. I don't remember. It's like on their shirts at one point.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's
now I really
it's the
need
stuff
to
like that. Yeah,
movie.
it's those details that make it so great.
Yeah,
and make it so rewatchable. I want to see it again so badly.
Apparently, like this is a little random scene, but I completely forgot. There was like in Hereditary. Like one of the moments where it cuts like from like daylight to nighttime, when it cuts to nighttime, there's like 8 like naked people just standing around the house, and I did not see that until so I saw someone post it on Twitter today. I was like, holy shit! And they're like all like around the house.
Hereditary is a lot of those moments that because I think I've watched Hereditary so many times now, and like every time there's different things that I notice in like the background or in the just details of something, and I think he went like full on with that in Midsommar with all of the artwork and drawings and everything in the background is important, and he like tried it out in Hereditary and it worked really well, and then this time he went like full blown everything means something,
especially when it comes to a cult. Like
there's always like weird symbols and stuff. You gotta have that type of stuff,
right? It's very easy to throw that into the background. So they have this weird feast. And then after that, you see the community gathered near like a cliff top, and they're at the ground, and then they see like the female elder. There's these 2 old people at the table. There's male and female, and when they cut to the shot of the cliff top, you notice the old woman walking close, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like,
I knew.
She's gonna jump.
Like I saw it when I saw it in the trailer and like the little teasers here and there. When they're like screaming at the cliff and like they show someone jumping off of something, I was like, yeah, this is the scene where someone's jumping off a fucking cliff.
Yeah, so this is where I like this too because this is where the movie tricks you into thinking it's going from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
But then it like scales back.
It like brings you all the way up and then back down and back into the like action of the plot.
So the woman dies upon impact, but then the guy falls and he just like breaks his legs.
Yeah.
And then they showed a big mallet earlier in the scene, and you were kind of like, "Well, what's that for?"
Yeah.
And then a bunch of the members come over and they take turns like cracking his skull open to make sure he's dead. So
I actually did like this is like fucked up, but like when they're all screaming and shit, you see the guy with the mallet. He just like holds it up in the air.
Yeah,
that made me laugh.
He's walking in like a fucking Soul Calibur character. He's just like
he like shows it in the air, and like they walk over.
Yeah. So and this is really the only major gore. And that's questionable. That's not really like, but like you can tell, like they'll show his like face smashed in, and she's dead.
When they show it like close up, that was like pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I was like,
that's clearly
it's like, ooh, tasty.
something that is going to be a part of his just style, I guess, in the future, because it's been in both of his films where it's like hard cut to like a close up of extreme like gore.
Yeah,
right,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I did like the way they.
But as soon as that shot, I was like, oh, that's like Hereditary.
So naturally, the American group finds this like really fucked up, and Scott, the English dude, just won't shut up about it.
Freak out.
What the fuck?
you are fucked.
They freak out.
So they're freaking out, and then they're informed by one of the head women that like, hey, this is just like a routine in the community. Like once you hit a certain age, which I think is 72.
Yeah, it's 72.
That's kind of like the end of your life cycle, and so rather than like, you know, live the rest of your days in all these trials and tribulations, like just sacrifice your life and give it to the community.
Yeah,
so,
there's that part where their friend, what's his name again? The Swedish friend.
Pele.
He's explaining how like in their community, the season, they like equate their life to the seasons.
Yeah.
And there's certain like ages that you're entering another season, and like I think it was 72 is like when it's over.
Yeah, it's like the end of it all.
I actually
Which
thought
also-
that part was like, I don't know, it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, well, see, here's the terrifying part. When the woman is explaining this, they're normalizing what happened because in reality, like every culture has different traditions.
Yeah,
and
that's why I was like,
values.
yeah, people do that stuff all the time. Like,
Right.
they don't kill them or like, well, some do, but like or like they let them choose what they want to do. But
Right.
it's not like I don't really think that's such a weird thing.
Right. So she was just like, hey, listen, I know you're freaked out, but like this is fine. Like they choose to do this. This is how like our ancestry continues to thrive. So they decide like between that explanation and the fact that Josh really wants to write his thesis that they're not going to ditch just yet.
Yeah. And what's interesting too, just going back to what I said real quick, when he's talking about the seasons, Danny's age is what would be considered midsummer in that cycle.
Another
that he
important
describes.
aspect.
Pretty deliberate, obviously.
So so the next day comes and Simon ends up disappearing, and Danny is informed by one of the elder men that he just also Connie is there, his mate, and he's like
His fiance.
Fiance. I was going to be more lustful about it, but so he's explaining that he like just caught the train and there was only enough room on the truck to get to the train. They're going to bring a truck back. As soon as I heard that, it's obvious what's happening at that point.
That's the first like real sign that like something weird's going on.
Right, because Connie's like, he would not just leave me and not say anything. Like, you're fucking nuts. Like, what do you talk? Like, nobody would do that except maybe Christian. To which Danny actually makes a passive aggressive comment about later.
Like,
I know, dude. I was literally like roasted.
Yeah, fucking roasted.
So, Christian, being the considerate and hardworking guy that he is, decides to completely jack Josh's idea for the thesis. And so he's like confiding in Pele, and he's like, yo, I want to do this. I want to know if it's okay, because they're very secretive about what goes on there.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, I just want to make sure it's cool to do my thesis about it. And then Pele lets it slip to Josh that that's what he wants to do. And then that creates another rift between two of the main characters.
Well, no, Christian tells Josh, he asks him, he's like, he just like goes up and is like, by the way, just so you know, I'm doing this.
Well, yeah, he doesn't ask.
And he's
him.
like
just,
not okay with it, and he's just like, well, I'm
he
doing
doesn't
it.
give a fuck. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a
You're open
complete
to collaborate.
Yeah.
Bro,
complete.
fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
we've been working on this for months.
You just jacked his idea. So at this point, Josh is trying to wrangle some more information out of one of the elder men, and he ends up talking with him about these series of paintings, these ancient paintings, but they're being created by this deformed member of the community who was bred ancestrally.
So sick.
And
He's
they
like an oracle.
yeah, they consider him
Yeah.
an oracle. Like they only Chris is like, what the fuck is going on? It makes you really want to watch the movie, huh?
I'm not gonna lie.
Are you a little curious? Just a little
I'm
curious.
very curious now. Like, I don't care if like I'm getting spoiled to all hell. I'm just intrigued to be like, yo, how is this getting pulled off and
Yeah.
getting good reviews?
You would,
Yeah, it's pretty nutty.
Yeah, it's surprising how well it was pulled off.
What was that character's
the
name?
incest,
couldn't
the
remember.
can't
incest
remember.
oracle. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I know the rest of the cast, but I don't know.
I thought it was
that
a
guy.
girl.
Girl, maybe.
No,
Which also-
it's a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a guy.
I didn't know that. Like from the trailer, they
Oh,
show
you thought
real,
it was a girl?
they show it real quick, and I was like, oh yeah, it's some weird deformed girl. But
Oh.
Well,
okay.
that also, just to sort of like make another Hereditary comparison, was in Hereditary, like the trailers and everything going into the movie, I was like, oh, Charlie is going to be like the main focus of this movie. She's going to be like the antagonist. And then it totally was a completely different thing.
Nope.
And I felt the same way with that character's name none of us can remember. Like they showed him in the trailers and you're like, okay, well clearly the weird looking guy is going to be a big part of this movie and he's not.
It's a MacGuffin. Like
Yeah.
they just like misled you completely.
it like in the trailer pops out so blatantly as being like, this is going to be important. This is part of like the horror of the movie. And then it's not at all.
$10 says Christian is Googling this character right now.
I'm looking for it right now. Actually,
He's like, no.
I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah, but he looks so important in the trailer. Just
Yeah,
'cause
no, same.
It's the only like prosthetic in the movie.
He's like a little boy. This is what he looks like. in
That's
real
who played
life.
Are you serious?
I swear to God.
Yo, that makeup job is ridiculous. Holy
His
shit.
name was oh, what the fuck? Where'd it go?
No way.
Yeah, but that's like the
Ruben.
Ruben. That's it.
Oh,
That's like the
okay.
only big like real like prosthetic or like special effect.
He's like, what? So sometime after this, which I kind of laughed at. So Mark, at this point, like throughout the movie, each of them are just kind of like taking these hallucinogens. Most of it's against their will, but then Mark could be found like with a beer every now and
He's
then.
hitting that vape.
Yeah,
the whole movie.
he's also hitting the vape.
He's hitting that vape.
So Mark decides to piss on an ancestral tree, which he didn't know it was an ancestral tree, but this really pissed off like this one guy from the community. He's like, "What the fuck?" Like he's just like going nuts, and he had to like be separated from him. And so, one thing I wanted to mention, because they briefly show signs of it, but then they delve into it deeper later. There's this redheaded girl named, I think, Maja or Maya, or
I can't remember any of their names.
yeah.
I think it's Maya.
and I think it might
Let's
be
just
Maya.
call her the little red-haired girl.
The little red, well, not little. Let's just say the red-haired girl.
The redhead.
We're trying to skip a theme here. So they show throughout the beginning that she gives Christian a bunch of glances like subtle fuck me eyes, nothing like crazy. But then you find out like they begin telling this throughout the story that, you know, when a girl comes of age in the community, they seek somebody out to, you know, be their mate and just put a baby in them. The way they go about it though is pretty fucked up. So they find out who they like, and what they do at first is they place this rune under their bed, and it's I think it's just called like a love rune, and so it's basically supposed to put them under a love spell or something. And so Maya puts it under Christian's bed the first night he's there. So then after that, I think on the second feast or the third feast, when they're all eating, you notice they all have these glasses, and this is about to get fucking gross.
It's filled with gamer girl bathwater.
It's filled.
Yeah.
Yes, I wish it was that sexy. So
We're making that.
you'll notice that
Midsommar
Silver
juice.
Screen Fiends gamer girl bathwater. Are we gonna lice it?
Just shit in a
movie
fucking
juice.
bottle.
Really quick, speaking of film merchandise,
Speaking of shit.
did you see that A24 released the bear in a cage thing?
Yeah.
The little statue sold out immediately.
They were
no
going to actually
shit.
put up more at 6 p.m. tonight, but
Oh, really?
they decided not to because they realized on the server there were a lot of bots trying to jump onto it.
Oh, sure.
So they
yeah.
said they're going to wait.
They're
going
gonna
to
scalp the fuck out of that.
Yeah. They're probably gonna, what they do sometimes, they'll just put up randomly for sale and just not post anything about it. Because then usually fans who go on the site will just pick it up.
I really want one.
Yeah, so do I.
It was
only
pretty cool.
It was only like $30.
Yeah, it's 30.
Yeah.
32.
So 3,000.
3,000. Yeah.
I love you, 3,000.
$5.
Iron Man's dead.
Yeah. Wow. Yo, Christian just looked at you like you killed his family. Please tell.
Movie sucks.
All right, let's move on. So you notice in the scene with the feast, the glasses are filled with some like, it almost looks like urine. So you think like, is it urine? But then you get to Christian's glass and it's like a little bit darker red. And then you find out that when a woman is coming of age and she finds a mate she likes, she goes ahead and Christian's leaving the room and she goes ahead and squats over the glass and empties a few droplets of period blood into it.
Let's just like, I do this every
We don't
morning.
see this
So what's
in the
problem?
Did you say you do this every morning?
Yeah, so what's the big
Where's
deal?
my invite?
Dude, I drink it myself. What's the what's the actual problem?
Literally, we're getting canceled.
Which also, by the way, that entire
They're finally
love
putting it in a movie.
ritual is one of the tapestries in the background. Also.
Yeah, I was gonna say they show that multiple
show it
times.
backwards.
Are you
through-
there, God? It's me, Big Kahuna.
They show that throughout the movie multiple times. Like they'll show
that's the one like blatant one that they like explain.
Yeah,
one of the characters explains it.
next to the bear on fire. But we'll get into that one.
Which
so
also the other thing that's important.
this movie
We'll
goes
get there.
deep, man. This movie goes deep. He's like, what the fuck is this?
The other thing that's important
amazing.
is they talk about how him being an outsider is really important because they try to like avoid inbreeding. And
Right.
it's difficult without some outsider coming in, so that's why like he's targeted, I guess.
Yeah. That it's like tradition, which is why like Pele ropes them in basically because this only happens like every 90 years,
90
or something.
years, they say.
So they just like try to get outsiders randomly so that they could complete these rituals. But anyway, so you see that part and you kind of know what's going on and you're grossed out. But then everyone has like a little mini. It looks like a pot pie on a little plate.
Yeah, a little chicken pot.
And so he takes a bite of his. Well, everyone takes a bite in unison, and then he like takes a piece. He like pulls a hair out of it, which normally would be gross. You're like, oh, maybe that's like somebody's hair, like a handmaiden from the kitchen. And then Mark looks at it and he's like, that's a fucking pube, dude. And Christian's like,
Pubis.
no way. He's in disbelief because everyone would be in disbelief. He's like, that's not a pube.
They kind of mislead you with that too. I felt it. I assume it was on purpose, where you at first are under the impression that they might be eating the two older people.
Yes.
Because
which is what I
they
thought.
show them die and then they show them burning their bodies.
Yeah, they push them into a fire.
And at first I was like, are they eating those people? But it ends up not.
But
being the
I'm
case.
glad that they didn't do that.
I think it was purposely. It was like a purpose mislead.
Because they do that and we talk about how much we do not like this movie, Rob Zombie's 31.
Yeah.
They do that to one of their friends, and he's like, Malcolm McDowell was like, oh, you're eating your friend.
Look,
and it's like,
nothing's going to do it better than South Park, so
Scott Tenorman, baby.
movies should just not do it, and I was glad that they didn't do it.
See, that
gonna cut you up.
sounds like that was probably left over from when it was
A slasher
from
movie?
when it was a slasher. Like,
Yeah.
if it was, it probably was going to go that way.
I would believe it, yeah. But I'm glad it did not. So anyway, this is like, that's like the middle of the ritual, and then the final part we'll get into in very excruciating detail. But anyway, so later that night, Josh decides to sneak into one of the temples, and when he was talking with the elderly man, he was shown a book that had all the runes and the artifacts in it, and the paintings from the oracle, and he's like, you know what? I can't take pictures, but I'm gonna just sneak my way past everyone and do it.
It's like the one nighttime scene of the entire movie.
Yeah, it's like one
Other than
or
the
maybe two.
intro, yeah.
Yeah. So while Josh is doing this, he snuck up and this is really the only time this happens. He's snuck up upon by this weird, like half naked man, but he's wearing and it took me a second to realize this, he's wearing the skinned face of Mark. And I was
that's like one of the main parts that actually just like scared me, because like whenever people are like in movies and they're wearing like a skin
People's
suit,
face.
that shit is terrifying.
I'll be honest, that is something that creeps me the fuck out.
I'm not sure it was. I thought like the person was wearing the bottom half as well. Like I wasn't sure if that was actually a man or if it was a woman dressed up. Either way,
I couldn't
like
tell.
from looking at that scene, it like if you look at it real quick, it looks like they also are wearing his bottom half.
I think I'm okay with the ambiguity. I think I'm okay with it being like, I'll figure it out later. Because that sounds horrifying.
It really is.
Is this where it starts to get real creepy and shit? Is this
starts? Where have you been? Yes, this is where it like kind of.
This is where it starts to escalate a little bit. This is where we find out that the minds are being put into the bodies of black people.
Get Jordan Peele and Ari Aster's great collaboration.
Yo, can you imagine?
Get Out from Midsommar.
Oh no!
Hold up. That, honestly,
Hold up.
we live in a world where I could see that.
I could see that being a really cool trailer mashup.
That'd be fucking
Please someone
awesome.
make that.
I'm sure it exists.
But like, oh my god, that's a really cool idea, actually.
I wouldn't be shocked if they worked together eventually.
Yo, that would be.
Jordan Peele he just saw it and
They
he was like
should.
saying that
They're
he
two
loved
of
it.
He was like one of the
biggest names
main
in modern
proponents for the
horror.
movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that scene was the most Hereditary-esque scene, I thought.
I think so.
I think if Blumhouse offers up a really decent budget to Ari, I think if they get him over at Blumhouse and get him to leave A24, I think that'll probably be in the cards. Whereas they'll either write something or I don't think they'll direct it together.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But like if they collaborate on something, that's gonna be oh my.
Yeah, like I can imagine one would be like writer, producer, the other would be director.
Exactly.
I
would be
could see that.
surprised if Jordan produced his next one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well, Jordan's doing that the Candyman remake, which I'm actually a little bit excited
And
for.
Gargoyles.
If it wasn't him, I
Oh
would.
shit, that's
excited.
right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Jordan Peele's Gargoyles.
Get Out, Us, Candyman, Gargoyles.
Man, that's
It's gonna be
great.
wild.
So sneaks in, weird face, and then there's like this weird breathing / moaning, which you can't really tell if it's Josh or the guy with Mark's face. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah,
at first I was
that
like,
was weird, but I liked it.
At first I was like, is it the new dude or is
You
it
can't really tell.
Josh?
Oh,
like
I thought it was Pele. Or no, whatever the fuck his name was, the deformed person.
Ruben.
He's in the
Ruben?
room. Ruben.
Oh,
Ruben's in the room.
He
shit.
sleeps in there.
Yeah,
That's
he's
a good
sleeping
point.
they show him in the corner.
It might be Ruben.
Whatever it was,
That's
it was
what I thought
it was a
was.
weird
Yeah.
ass sound, and
Yeah.
I liked it.
I know, me too. And so then like he hits Josh over the head with the hammer, and then he drags him out, and then this is like presumably the last time you see him. So the next
Until the end.
until the end. So the next day, Danny, she decides to take part in this dancing competition, and let me just say that throughout the movie, Danny at first she's like a little bit reserved, like just a tiny bit in like engaging with the community, but then as they're like, oh no, like come help, it'll be fun, like they spin it in a positive way, she's like growing this sense of family. And the important thing to remember is a lot of people view this as strictly a breakup film, but I think it's a lot I think
I
this
agree.
film is
I want
about
to talk about what we think it's about after.
yeah. Oh, so you want
Because
me
I
to
have a
say
lot of
this?
ideas. Yeah.
Okay, so let me say
Yeah,
this.
let's
All right,
finish the plot.
So
and then I want
Danny,
to talk about that.
takes part in this dancing competition around the maypole, which is like this big structure. It looks like a cross
with two
and-
circles.
Yeah, and it has like flowers embedded on it. And so you see this throughout the whole movie. You see this pole. So you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And then you find
that
out.
was like the big symbol, like when they were promoting the movie.
I was going to say in
Like that.
trailers too, like they were promoting
I
it.
felt like also kind of like piggybacking on that. One thing that is just really cool about the movie in general is whereas like in a normal horror movie, I keep comparing it to Hereditary, but in Hereditary,
Yeah, it's kinda hard
you're
not to.
seeing-
Yeah.
You get scenes and you'll revisit locations and it'll be like one was during the day and then the creepy part is at night. And what I like about Midsommar is you're revisiting the same places, but it's broad daylight the entire time, but just the implication of what's happening changes. And it's sort of like even though the sets are exactly the same and it's not nighttime or anything, it feels different.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. You don't see that happen a lot in horror movies. It's typically like, this is them in the house during the day, and now it's the creepy part, so it's dark out.
Right.
And since you don't get that, it's like a different feeling.
Ari just like flips tradition
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
I love that. So this competition, basically it's just like a stamina match. You have to dance around the maypole. All the women in the community her age dance around the maypole, and then whoever's left standing becomes the May Queen.
They all like drink that like
so
weird like water stuff like.
Yeah, so and that ties into what I was saying earlier, how all of them basically end up inadvertently drugged throughout the movie, so that way they're more willing to participate in all of these things.
There's one part where Christian gets a drink and he asks what it does or like what the effects are, and the woman who hands it to him just says that like it makes you more open and more like willing or something like that.
Right, and then he's like at first a little bit reserved, but he's like, you know what? Fuck it. And you know what's and not to get too psychological about it, but I was very interested the fact he decided to say fuck it, and I wanted to ask you guys, like, what do you think was going through his head? Like,
I think he knew that like something was going to happen with that girl. That's why like when he was like at first he's like when he's like because he knew that if he's drinking that something's happening with that girl. And then when he was just like, fuck it, doesn't matter.
But do you think he did that because he knew something was happening with the girl to enhance or to make him try to forget about it and his willingness to actually cheat on Danny?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, because I think that Christian, like, obviously we don't see character development from him, and it's not that kind of a movie. You just tell that he's kind of
like a piece of shit.
But I was just for one brief second of the movie, I was like psychologically conflicted about that moment because I'm like, why did he actually drink that?
Mm-hmm. Well, to sort of like I said, I do want to talk about like what I think the meaning of the movie is, but I think a lot of the movie is not meant to be literal. I think the whole movie is not meant to be literal, and so a lot of the decisions that the characters are making, it makes a lot more sense when you're just thinking about like the themes and less in terms of like the actual plot itself. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like him doing these things, I think is just sort of a part of his like separation from Danny, since I think that's what the whole movie is about. And I guess in terms of like the symbolism or whatever, it could be him finding someone else or
like breaking free,
being like tempted away from the relationship.
I agree.
I think that point where he does decide to drink that is sort of like his like breaking point, I guess, or like the moment that he really is like moving away from her. Because before that, he's just like a shitty boyfriend, but he's not necessarily doing anything to like overtly like betray Danny, I guess. And that's sort of the first instance of him really like breaking away from their relationship.
He's just like, fuck it. Like, this is the escape I needed.
Yeah. He's like, it was going to happen, so might as well just happen now.
They just like gave him the tools to do it.
Yeah, because he's watching her dance during that part. So she's off sort of like doing her own thing anyway. And that whole scene, she's like smiling and laughing and everything. And I wonder if it's supposed to, be that she's kind of happy away from him. And
I think that was the dividing line.
And him realizing that is when he's sort of ready to break it.
Yeah, I agree. So Danny ends up winning the competition and she's crowned the May Queen. And so they like put this gigantic flower crown on her and they ended up like carting her away in some chariot. And so while what? So while this is happening, this is when Christian is I remember they bring Danny and everyone to this big, I think it's like the last feast of the movie.
Yeah, it's a big table.
Yeah, and this is the part where the drugs are really kicking in for Christian, and this is one of my favorite scenes because like throughout the movie they'll show them like tripping a bit, but this is where like for example, Danny's flower crown, like you see throughout the whole trip, that like breathing. It's breathing, and
it's matching up with her nostrils. If you look like side by side, real quick, every time
because you're into that, so you noticed.
Every time the flowers go in and out, it's matching with her breathing.
I actually didn't even notice that.
That's some Pixar level detail shit. That's fucking wild.
See, like, the flowers on her crown are moving in and out. Like looks like they're breathing. And if you I was like, oh, and then you see her breathing at the same pace. As
Well, the first 10 minutes of the movie is a whole family dying. So yeah, it's a Pixar movie.
Oh yeah, of course. Pixar.
Okay, first of all, that happens in a lot of Pixar movies.
That's what I'm saying. It is a Pixar movie. So at this big table, this is where like there's real tension because you could see like a part of you is like, oh, like is Danny and Christian gonna, reconcile, or what's gonna happen? And then you just see them being pulled away emotionally further and further.
That scene in particular too, like he's sat like very far away from her on the table, and
right.
I don't think that whole scene, as far as I noticed, they're never like in focus at the same time. If it's looking at Christian, she's so blurry you can barely even see her. And
yeah,
I'm sure that was a deliberate decision because they feel very distant.
Right, they're there, but they're very distant at the same time.
They're at the same table, but they're in completely different places.
Yeah. So, excuse me, I had kielbasa. So Christian, he ends up seeing I think they like carry her off again, and Christian, he ends up seeing Maya. She's like 30 feet away from the table, and she ends up coming closer, throwing these flower petals down,
In like a trail.
which is basically like, "Hey, big boy, time to get it on." So he just like in a very unwilling yet willing fashion ends up going with her. And so
by the way, he's really like messed up at this part of the movie.
Yeah, he's having
he can like
bad
barely
trip.
see. Yeah,
like the guy next to him, he's like, "What's going on?" And the guy next to him just like he claps in his face,
and it like fucks up all of the whole scenery goes like really distorted.
I really love that part.
Yeah, that was cool.
So
he's
then
like,
we get
just like, what's going on? He just turns around, looks at him, and claps in his face.
So the next scene is the most emotionally charged scene of the movie.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely, I would call it the climax of the action.
Literally
all
the
of the action.
climax.
Oh, haha.
Nice. Well, that was too easy. How could I not make that fucking
I quit.
joke?
I'm leaving.
All right, bye.
Mommy.
So we see Christian get dragged into this barn, and there's like 9 naked women all the way in the back, and Maya is just like laying down naked. And this is when Christian is just like, he's like, okay, I don't have a choice. I guess I got to do this now. So then he, enters her.
Ew, don't say it like that.
Well, okay,
you made it worse.
Her
You made it
pussy.
worse.
It's weird. Like that scene, like I did like the camera when like, it's kind of weird, but like when she's like, the camera's like behind her, and if it's like right in front of her legs, and then her legs just like move over and then like open, and he's just standing right there. I thought that was pretty cool shot.
It was a cool shot.
Christian was staring, and it just reminded me of like a Beavis and Butthead moment where Butthead would be staring at a woman and just like,
And they just like take his clothes off, and he's just like fully naked. He's like, okay.
Okay, we gotta do this. So then, like, they fuck for, it feels like an hour.
Yeah.
And like, the women are, like, slowly
chanting
helping him, and they're
like,
chanting.
It's very ritual feeling.
That's when, like,
ritual.
everyone in the theater was dying laughing. And, like...
It's hard not to when you first see it.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
And when they cut back, like, it was funny. Like, it's weird as fuck, and it's, like... And then his face, and then she's like singing in his like looking into his eyes, singing.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is fucking bizarre.
Once she started singing, I was like, oh no.
That's what it is. In Hereditary too, there's a lot of like moments that on the surface seem kind of funny, but in the context of the movie, they're so like bizarre that it's just like it's more unsettling than funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But your instinct is to laugh at it.
Yeah. So Danny is like a little bit away from the barn, and
they're doing like some ritual. And then when they come back,
oh, that's right. So they like bury some meat and eggs into the ground. I actually really like. So throughout the movie, there's like all this chanting. This scene though, when Danny's repeating the chant, it's I think that was like the most believable and the most fun hymn that they're singing.
Yeah, I did like that
because it's just like. Well, that is how somebody like Danny would be doing it, and it just felt like very natural. Like this was her acceptance into a new family.
Good.
Yeah, she really was.
Like when she's in like all the moments where she's crying throughout the film, where she's crying a lot, and she's like crying even on the poster. Like
that scene's cool when they're all surrounding her and like crying with her.
That's what I was getting to.
Just like all the scenes of her crying throughout the film were actually believable.
They were. She's fantastic. Yeah. So after that ritual, they're passing that barn where the sex is happening.
And they hear it.
and so she keeps hearing they're all chanting it. And so she's like, what the hell is that? And one of the girls is like, oh, no, it's nothing. And she's like, no. There's something good happening there.
No, you don't want to see.
Yeah, she says, like, you don't want to look in there.
Yeah, and she's like, well, fuck that. I'm going to look. So she, like, peers through this, like, little hole.
That was, like, the biggest part in the trailer was, like, she was looking at the end.
Yeah.
And I really like this part because they didn't show the remaining part of the fucking, like, they just showed that you could hear the chanting, and she walks up to it, and she looks in, and she's crying, but you can't actually see any of the sex.
It's like from that moment, we switch over and start following her instead of Christian.
Yeah. So right after this happens, Danny breaks down. She goes back to the place where all of them were originally sleeping. And as she's crying, the rest of the girls around her start crying in unison, and they're breathing heavy like her. They're crying like her. And why I like that part especially is because that's like heavily symbolic of her new family. Like, hey, we're never going to leave you. Like, this is your family now. Like, this is community. Like, you cry, we cry, you laugh, we laugh. Like this is your new life. Like fuck that dark past you had. And I thought that was important because it's like it's a breakup movie and it's like a moving on movie.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, it's interesting because
cool.
I've seen some people discussing that like aspect of it, and we're obviously going to get to the ending, but there's sort of like a little bit of debate of if the ending is tragic or like
I think it's a good ending,
like a hopeful ending.
I think it's hopeful for her. Like that's like we can keep going.
I read it as that way too, but I had seen people saying that like she sort of is going because a big part of the beginning of the movie is she's on the phone with like a friend or someone you don't really know who, and she mentions how she feels like she's like leaning so heavily emotionally on Christian and their relationship, and so some people that I've seen like talking about the movie have said that they feel as though the end of the movie is her escaping that relationship, leaning so emotionally heavy on Christian and just finding something else to like lean on emotionally. And it's sort of like a cycle of her not really being like stable by herself. So that was like the tragic ending interpretation.
That's something I did want to discuss after the plot, but I swear we're almost done with the plot. It felt like a year. So Danny's like having this panic attack and all the women are shouting with her. And so after the ritual, Christian notices that he's like trying to gain his composure. He walks out of the bar naked and afraid. He runs out and he's like, "What the fuck just happened?" Butt ass naked, and he runs toward. And I love this part too. As he's running towards this random shed, there's just one person, like a little bit in the background to the right. They're not hiding, but you're just like, wow, they're really consistent with this, with the way they portray everybody.
It feels close. There's always people. There's no privacy really to any,
there's no
any
privacy.
part of it.
So he walks in and he sees like in this little like garden area, he sees Josh's legs sticking out, and he's like, well, yeah, he's dead. And then he goes into the shed.
Oh yeah, that part was so cool.
This part was awesome. So he goes into the shed and he slowly turns around and it's the guy Simon. Yeah. But what they did was really fucked up.
Dude, so like he's still alive.
They kept him alive, but they cut open his back to symbolize like an angel or flying.
Yeah, he's like hanging from the ceiling and he has flowers in both of his eyes.
Yeah.
And his back is cut open and his lungs are out of his body, but they're moving. Like they're still breathing.
Christian's like, we gotta end the podcast.
Like you said, man, a Pixar movie.
Exactly.
That was like one of the most like wild
that happened.
Like,
that was really cool.
Just because they keep him alive and like you see his lungs moving in the air, like moving above him.
It's wild.
I'm like, holy shit! Like
that was a really cool scene.
Yeah. So they're just like torturing him basically.
Pretty awesome. For words. Mic drop. That's great. So it resembles like this weird like blood eagle or something.
It's very cool.
And so then as he turns around, this elderly man paralyzes him with this dust. He like blows it in his face and he's just like, oh, can't move anymore. So when he comes to, this is basically the end of the movie. So when he comes to, he's like in this wheelchair and the whole cult is out in the open and they're like, okay, so this whole 9-day festival, we need 9 sacrifices. And so it's 4 outsiders, which is like the main cast, and 4 cult members, which the 2 elders were killed in the beginning, and 2 young guys volunteer.
One of them, if you notice, is the guy who got mad at Mark for peeing on the tree.
Oh,
It's
I
the
didn't
same-
notice
it's the same
that.
guy, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. And I know one of them is actually the brother of Pele, Ingmar.
Yeah, the guy who
which I
brought
didn't
the
even.
he's the one who brought the
He
British,
brought Simon
the
and
British
Connie.
couple.
Yeah. So I forgot to even mention Ingmar early in the movie. But yes, Pele has a brother, and that's what happens. And so they need one final living victim. So they leave this up to the May Queen, who is Danny.
Dude, when they cut up, I was so glad that she picked him.
You kind of knew
I
that
knew,
was
but,
going to
like,
happen.
I was just like, good, fuck him. Like, get him the fuck out of here.
Well, that's
Yeah.
when I think the whole theme, her entire like arc in the
Yeah.
movie culminates with that, her choosing him is like the main like point of her entire
Yep.
journey, it seems like.
Like, yeah, fuck him. Like,
Right, like we're done. Like
deserves it.
this is done. Yeah. So, and I also love how he was paralyzed, so he couldn't like make a case. He couldn't run away.
Yeah, he couldn't
like,
even
also,
talk.
all of his friends are dead. So,
All of
like,
his friends
it's not
are
like
dead.
one. She's probably in her head, like, oh, like, what's gonna happen? Like, if like, it's like, no, his friends are dead. He's gonna die, and her family's fucking dead. So it's like,
she's the only outsider that's left, pretty
Yeah.
much. That's
Yeah.
in, a
That's it.
living condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they decide that so earlier in the movie you notice a bear in a cage, and as the group's walking by they're like, what's up with the bear in the cage? And they're like, don't worry about it.
He's just like, it's a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, are we just gonna ignore the bear in the cage? He's like, it's a bear.
that line was pretty
It's
funny.
like me.
So as Christian is
Honestly, mood.
as Christian is paralyzed, this elder man's instructing these younger kids on how to cut open the bear, and
Yeah.
this is the point where you're like, oh no, he's going in the fucking bear, isn't he?
That like, but people thought that I was gonna be like. A few of my friends thought I was gonna be like super weirded out by that. I was like, bro,
Like,
I've
you
seen
personally?
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, yo, you like a few friends were, oh, you like the bear part? I'm like, I guess like that part did not scare me. Like, dude, I've seen Tusk. Like they like he turned a whole guy like into a fucking walrus. Like
I'm gonna bring this full circle and just mention Freddy got fingered.
No, stop.
I mean, it's true though. Like, I'm desensitized to that.
Yeah,
Like,
I
who
didn't find
cares?
that particularly like disturbing.
I laughed when it cut to Mark in the bear suit. I was
Yeah.
like, "Pfft, what?
and he's just like sitting there not moving at all.
But you know, it's cool. We talk about all these callbacks, and throughout the movie, one of the things I did notice was the girl with the period blood, and also on tapestries, and you would see like a bear on fire. And I was like, oh,
Also,
okay.
in Danny's room in the beginning, there's a painting of a bear.
yeah.
And a little
it's
girl.
a little
with,
girl
like,
like
a crown.
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
And it's
that.
it's
It's
like touching the bear or something. But
It's like something you'd see in a therapist.
Yeah,
office or
there's a
something.
couple of
noticed that.
like videos on YouTube already that are like all about the paintings in the background, and that one's mentioned. There's one of like a dinosaur that's mentioned.
I really hope they do like some type of book with like,
That-
a bunch
yeah,
of
like
the
an art
different-
book.
I think that would be really
That
cool.
would
I would
fucking
definitely
cool.
buy that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked. They made a
would buy
fucking
that.
toy of the bear.
Yeah.
So the 4 dead friends and everyone else who volunteered, and Christian's in the center in the bear suit. Throughout the movie, you see a bunch of times this like yellow temple. It's like in the shape of like a pyramid or a triangle rather.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what's that? Like you see people go in and out of it, and you don't know. And well, this is like the final sacrifice place,
Yeah, this is like the final scene of the film.
right? So they just burn it all.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
bring in all the. You see all the
That
people. all
scarecrow
the
of
friends.
his skin.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick.
Which is cool, which is what I was talking about
So
earlier with the
Scarecrow,
Wizard of
yeah.
Oz picture. Like
That was
all
just really
these
that was a cool
callbacks.
image.
Yeah, and the whole thing just goes on fire, and so Danny starts looking at this by like, oh man, that's real fucked up and sad. But then at the very end of the movie, it turns to a smile.
Yeah, she's smiling.
and then it cuts, and
Yeah.
then okay, I swear that's the end of the plot. Okay, so now we can fucking analyze
Yeah.
like we're buffs. So anyway, meaning of the film. What do you think?
Like I said, I feel as though none of the movie is supposed to be literal. I think the entire movie was very much about this theme of like their breakup. And what I liked about it is that it wasn't necessarily about like a typical movie breakup, like, oh, he cheated on her and like they broke up, whatever. It was very much about like a gradual breakup, which I thought was very realistic
Oh yeah,
because it's just sort of about them growing apart pretty much. And like her like tragedy that she goes through with her family dying is like the kicking off point, I guess. And the whole movie is just sort of about them like emotionally separating from each other, but not physically because they're the outsiders in this like strange place. And so it makes it like very weird between them. And I think for me, that's what the entire movie was about, was just about like their relationship pretty much.
Yeah, I would agree. Like,
me too.
Like, it's weird as fuck, but like the movie as a whole is really weird. But at the basis of it, it's a movie about a toxic relationship, and even though they're in this weird situation, it's still is still in a toxic relationship. And it's like if you're breaking it down, and towards the end, where it's like, it's like you have to choose, like you're choosing over this other random person or this guy who's treated you like garbage this long time.
Yeah.
If you're in those like seriously like dire situations, what would you do?
Right.
And it's like, yeah, fucking, he was horrible to you. Like, like it sounds like gruesome or whatever, but it's like, yeah, get rid of him. Like, get him out of your life.
Well, she was essentially a victim of abuse.
Yeah, and she smiles at the end.
Right.
That's why I love that. It's like she's like kind of scared like the whole movie, and it's the first time you really see her smile.
Yeah.
When the whole fucking place is burning down.
Yeah.
That's why I sort of rejected personally the interpretation that it's supposed to be like a tragic ending. I just didn't really see that. I mean, I get where people are coming from, but I think that they're over analyzing it a little bit. And just overall, that's why I kind of made the comparison to like David Lynch, is I feel as though it wasn't necessarily a plot-focused movie in the way that like Hereditary was. It was much more about the bigger themes, and like the plot was secondary to like expressing those themes of like their breakup and everything like that. And it was a very like interpretive movie, if that's the right way to say it. It wasn't so literal.
Yeah. Just to add to that, because obviously I do believe that actually does make sense in the context of the movie.
Well, he said Arias just said he wants to do like a weird sound like that in all of his movies,
which he did.
Well, this one had that breathing thing. Yeah,
that weird breathe.
Yeah. So
we were told to do that for 10 minutes straight, so we gotta do it.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
That's the remainder of this episode.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing with like Hereditary. When I saw that, I heard that sound over and over again, like outside of like I thought I kept hearing it like all like
there were definitely also like watching Hereditary. There are parts of the movie where that sound is not in the movie, but you feel like you hear it.
Yep.
And it's like an audio illusion almost, and it was really cool. It made it scary.
Yeah.
And I think I mean I don't know like overtly if there was something like that in this movie, but sort of like how you said there was like people in the background and things like that. There was not a lot of like dead silence in this movie. There was a lot of
not at all.
Like atmospheric noise it sort of like served the same purpose.
Even literally every time Danny tried to go to sleep, there was a baby.
Yeah,
screaming.
there was always a baby.
There was
crying.
never silence.
There was very much the sounds
movie.
of people around at all times.
It was real. It was like being in a fucking mall or something.
Yeah, it was. It was cool.
So to add to the whole breakup thing, because obviously I do believe that because it's pretty apparent, but also I think it's just as important is that it signifies. I think I briefly mentioned this. It signifies leaving behind an old family and entering a new one, because that's literally how the movie starts. She loses her family. So we have this main conflict of her breakup or her impending breakup. But we also have to remember that she lost her family. So it's not just the fact that she's like losing her significant other. It's the fact that, well, after this happens, if I go home alive, like, who am I going back to?
Yeah.
I'm not going back to anyone.
And I think even like from the little hints that you get, it seems as though her family, particularly her sister, who I think they said she was bipolar or something.
Yeah, she was bipolar.
Was like this huge weight on her, and she's constantly worrying about her sister and like feels as though she has to take care of her. So even to, again, how the movie's not necessarily literal, it might be that she even has like sort of a toxic relationship with her own family, where like a lot of the weight of that is put on her, and finding like this new family is sort of her escaping that as well.
Yeah, because and that's interesting you bring up her possibly having a toxic family. I'll give you a really good example of it because I know this from personal experience. So when it's like the very beginning of the film when she calls her parents to make sure they're okay. and she's, concerned because she got this email from her sister, and it was basically like, oh, this is the end. Our parents too. This is good night, or something like that. So the initial reaction to her leaving the voicemail is, oh, like she's really concerned. Like, and that's obvious because you get this ominous email and you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
To somebody who's ever dealt with abuse in their life, her actual concern also stems from the fact that she would probably be, I don't know how to word this, maybe not looked down upon, but maybe she would fear the disappointment of not checking in on her parents. And maybe she's always been in a relationship that's never allowed her to be independent. And so I feel like when everyone died in the family, that allowed her to break free and tell her it's okay to move on with your life.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I feel like that was really masterfully done, the way that nothing is really overtly stated about her relationship with her family, but it's sort of implied.
Yeah.
Like you get these little hints that not everything's necessarily idyllic there either.
Right. Like, I'm glad it didn't open with the father like beating the shit out of her sister.
Right.
Like, that would have been too.
It would have been too much.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I'm very glad it did that way. But Joe, so let me ask you, favorite scene of the movie? I agree. The part where they shit their pants.
I don't know. I thought the cliff scene was pretty cool, and I did like the ending a lot. Just like that whole sequence, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really had like a specific favorite scene. I think like just my favorite thing overall was just all the cinematography. I thought was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
that was just like my favorite thing, was just like looking at all the little things throughout the whole
it
film.
was fantastic. Yeah,
movies suck.
Movie's bad. Anyway, so yeah, I really liked it. I think
go see it.
Solid 4 stars. Please,
I can't wait to watch it again. I really feel like it's a very rewatchable.
Definitely
movie.
watching it again.
Again, to compare it again, sort of the same as Hereditary and the same as The Shining. Also, where like I feel like I'm gonna watch it and just pick up more and more every time.
Those movies are like so unsettling, but yet I've watched them like. Well, I've only seen Hereditary once, but like
The Shining, I've seen.
I've seen it so many times. Yeah.
You boys excited for the 4K transfer?
Fuck yes.
You excited for Dr. Sleep?
Dude,
nope.
I think it's going to be interesting.
I'm sure it's going to be good.
Yeah,
just, I don't know.
I'm excited to see like that. I don't know that.
What, do you not have faith in the adaptation or the filmmaker behind it? Or just in general?
Don't love the book Dr. Sleep. I don't love the direction it takes in being a sequel to The Shining, because the book is very like action adventure-y almost, and it to me is just not the way to follow up The Shining. So it depends. I hope that the movie is not very similar to the book in that regard. I hope that they sort of move away from the more like goofy parts of the book, because because at first they said it's not going to be a sequel to Kubrick's The Shining, but then the trailer has stuff from that.
It literally is like so.
So I don't know where they're going with it.
Well, that's the thing. Like they claim that, but they're going to go in that direction because number one, money.
It's impossible not to.
Number two, it's impossible not to. Number three, that's what's drawing the audience in. They're like, it's the sequel to The Shining, but it's not. But it is.
I'm just like confused about it because when I heard that it was not going to be a sequel to the movie, I was disappointed. And now that I've seen the trailer, I'm glad it's not going to ignore the movie, because that would just be dumb. It's too it's too much a part of like the cultural zeitgeist of horror films that you can't just ignore it and try and like make something with these characters. But at the same time, just knowing the story of Dr. Sleep, I'm not super excited to see that version of a sequel to The Shining. I mean, I don't think The Shining needs a sequel.
I don't either.
It's like if they made Midsommar 2. Like, what? I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's just like, what could you do?
I like Ewan McGregor a lot.
I do too.
I feel like he wouldn't attach himself to this type of project if it wasn't like really cool. So
we'll see.
I have hope for it.
And isn't Mike Flanagan directing it? The guy who did Haunting of Hill House?
Yeah.
You're
and
right.
he's great too.
Yeah.
But it's
just like two factors were the only things that are pulling me in. I never read the book. I have no idea what the book's about.
Yeah.
So.
I still never read
What worries me is the story and the script more than the filmmakers.
I'll probably I do want to like give the movie a chance, so I'll see the movie first probably, and then I'll read the book.
I'm definitely going to see it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and apparently, like, all those, like, I thought that, like, a lot of it was, the only scene that they pulled from the actual Shining was, like, the elevator opening with the blood, but everything else they, like, redid.
Really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, all the, like...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, and I was like, oh, that's, like, really good quality. I was like, how the fuck do they make it look that good?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's from, like, the 4K release that's coming out, and now they reshot in, like, all those little scenes.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, because we got to wrap up soon, but did you guys watch the deep fake video where somebody put Jim Carrey over Jack Nicholson?
Yeah, it's
creepy.
Pretty wild.
Now I kind of want to see that.
Dude, those deepfake videos are fucking insane.
Yeah, it's fucking scary.
They really like get people in trouble with that stuff.
You know, in like the next couple years, like we're literally going to be able to alter everything people do.
Obviously, I knew it was going to be like porn was the first thing.
The weird thing is that Adobe also has a voice thing.
Yes, I saw the press conference.
So they have the voice thing. They got the deep fakes now. Yo, people are fucked.
Yeah,
like it's going to be so easy to.
You can like kill careers in an instant.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It won't just be on Twitter.
It'll just be.
Do you guys know who Corridor Digital is?
No,
they make like viral action videos on YouTube.
Okay,
they do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But they recently did this deep fake where they made this professional Tom Cruise impersonator.
Oh yeah, they're
exactly
the
like
ones
Tom
that do
Cruise.
the like VFX artists react.
Oh okay.
Those videos.
I've never heard of them.
Let me tell you. It was spooky how real that looked.
Yeah,
like when
weird.
like they hyped it up like Tom Cruise was actually there without even saying, we deep faked it. And then I'm like, oh crap, what are they doing with Tom? Oh,
it's definitely there. I feel like in the next few years, there's probably going to be like laws that come out about that stuff. Because it's getting too real.
Yeah.
And isn't it
what
funny?
do you think it'll say about movies, though? What do you think it'll happen?
Well, I was
going to
say
get implemented into films, or like, do you think?
Well, isn't it funny how so many of these
it's-
movies lately that have actors who are dead and they look so much worse than like deep fake videos on Twitter, like the Princess Leia and what was that, Rogue One?
Yeah,
like that looks so much worse than if they use that technology, which is probably a lot cheaper.
The only one I was a huge fan of was when they did it in Blade Runner. Some people didn't like that, but in
the Blade Runner one was
2049,
unreal.
Like it was like dark in the room, and like so it's a little bit easier to do with stuff like that. But
that's a decision you have to
holy
make.
Shit, I was like, I was like, for a second, I was like, is that actually the actress from the movie?
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't.
Yeah.
My biggest fear with all that technological advancement is like, I don't want to see in 20 years they're going to release like a Humphrey Bogart movie. Like I feel like they're going to bring.
It really wouldn't shock me.
Right? No, it would. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I mean, they already did it with a lot of Fast and Furious with his brother like standing in for him.
Yeah.
To, so you think like,
those scenes.
we could approach the point where like, guess who's back? Paul Walker's character.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's like a voice actor.
You understand how much of a box office draw that would be?
it
What
would.
if
It would.
people were like, Orson Welles is back? Or
You don't
like,
think that there's a line where people will be like, that's fucked up. That's a no.
I think all you got to do is get permission from their estate, and there's lots of people who have control of those estates that would love some money.
which luckily we know this would never in a million years happen with Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. If that were to be the case, and it was a thing that would end up happening, who would you not mind seeing?
Who would I not
come
mind?
Come back. Putting the moral objection aside, if it was coming out, trailers, hype about it, new movie starring this dead actor.
Yeah.
Who would you be kind of excited
That's a
for?
really good question.
With movies, I'm not like 100% sure because like there are a lot of good actors that I like that like dead but left like a good legacy behind, and I don't want to see that again. Like I think it's more for me is like actually with like how they're doing with like concerts and stuff, how they're doing these like holographic like the holograms on stage.
Oh no, I get that
Like-
too. I'm saying that this is like completely putting
Yeah.
aside those moral problems you would have with it, where you're like, oh, that's probably not a good idea, but it's happening anyway. Might as well be cool.
I think it'd be cool. It is a recent one, but like I think if they started doing like Stan Lee cameos back into the Marvel films in a few years, I think that'd be cool to see. Like because like that was such a
I
big
think
part of all the films.
That's doable
But
too.
here's
Yeah.
the thing. I think
Yeah.
that even in a weird way, even though some people might have a problem with it, I feel like Stan would be okay with
Oh
that.
yeah, like because
'Cause,
he
like-
loved doing all the
Oh,
cameos.
sure.
He loved doing the cameos, and it's not that hard,
Yeah,
especially.
and it's like what, like literally like 5 minutes, not even that he's in the scene.
Not
Sometimes
even, man.
it's like a quick line.
Yeah.
Like if you throw that into film, it means so much to people. And like
even
when
if
they-
it's like a
yeah.
silent thing.
Like
if
when he was in,
if I see Stan, I'll be happy.
when he was in
Yeah.
like the quick scene in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh man, that one wrecked
That like
me.
because that was like so recent, and I was like
It was right after he died.
literally like and it was that one was pretty. That was a really good one, even though it was animated. It was so cool.
see those kind of things I'm more okay with than like if we're talking about like a starring role. Like a cameo's fine. I don't mind that. Like we said, Blade Runner did it. Star Wars has done it now. And I don't necessarily mind those when they make sense.
The new
in
Twilight
the universe
Zone did it actually.
I heard
really?
about that, but I didn't watch it.
They brought
Who'd
back
they put in?
Rod Sterling.
Oh, really?
Like they brought him back as a character. in
Yeah,
one of
apparently the
episodes.
last episode of that is very like meta. I haven't watched it because I refuse to get CBS's streaming service.
I actually-
Same. Yeah.
If someone from work let me borrow it, so I watched.
It was
the first
actually
few
really cool
episodes.
the way that they
Yeah.
did it because it is a very meta episode, but it was very respectful
Yeah.
to the lore of the Twilight Zone. Like it in a
Yeah.
weird way, even though the episode was bizarre, it made sense for Rod to be there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Answer your question though. I think I'd probably want to see like Paul Newman or Cary Grant. Like I feel like they could transcend time. Like they were a little
Paul
bit
Newman,
dated.
Steve McQueen.
Yeah, they're like a little bit dated, but like they did so much with their careers, and every generation could like them. That I feel like I'd be okay with that.
I think it'd be
You know
cool
what
to
I mean?
see. Like even though he only did a few films, it'd be cool to see
James Dean. Yeah, I knew you were gonna
It's
say
like
that.
it's like
yeah.
he could have had like this huge.
I
like,
think
career,
so too.
Like,
I'd like to see James Dean.
just see
I
what
think
else they
that-
could have put him in.
That's actually a really cool thing, especially when there's movies now like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
Yeah.
coming out, where it's like,
Oh yeah. Oh, especially that.
especially with a film like that, you could actually see those type
Yeah,
of cameos
definitely.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Besides Quentin's fictional characters
Yeah.
that he
Right.
writes and stuff.
I
But
think
like,
Quentin has a cameo in that.
Quentin has a cameo in
Probably.
everything.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
think
say
he plays
always has-
himself.
Quentin even has a cameo in
Yeah.
The Muppets Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Man, he's in everything.
We're not gonna get
yeah.
into how self-masturbatory Quentin Tarantino
Yeah, I think
is.
he's playing himself.
Of course he
Yeah.
is. Was he like a,
Yeah,
In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he plays himself.
that means he would have been like
What a
10 years old.
jackass.
no, but it plays like himself just in that time for like I think it shows him like the,
Oh, like an alternate
like,
fucking.
from what I read online,
All right,
it shows
trash,
it
not
shows him
seeing
like
the movie.
it shows him like directing a movie
Can't wait
or
to see that
something.
movie.
But
No, I'm actually excited for it.
I'm going
Check it
opening
out.
night
I'm
and the
very
day
excited,
afterwards.
yeah.
Dude, they're playing it on a 35 millimeter in the city.
Ooh.
That's cool.
I saw Hateful Eight when they did like
So
the
did
road
I.
show. It was
Yeah.
so cool.
fellow roadshow attenders,
Yeah.
man.
It was
No one
nuts.
saw the
Yo,
roadshow.
literally,
I went. I have the program that they gave
I
you.
took
It
like
was
10
so
of them.
Cool. It was so
I
cool.
took like
That's
10 of
awesome.
those programs.
It's a special feeling. And
Oh yeah, it was.
I
cool.
tried walking out with one of the roadshow programs and I got stopped.
Dude,
And I
Really?
Yeah,
They literally
I think-
put up
I
a
think-
table
You
and
want to
put,
know
like,
what
a
I
bunch of them
honestly
on
think
there.
happened? I think it was a fan who worked at the theater who didn't get one and
Yeah.
stopped me trying to think like, okay, maybe if I pull it off, like,
Not gonna
oh,
lie, I
he'll
would
give
do
it
that.
back.
Probably.
Because it worked. Because I gave him the program. I was like, yo, wait, what do you mean I can't walk out with it? Yeah, it's a limited edition thing.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Not to go too deep into it, but I like when they do like sort of like exclusive
Oh, I love that
things
stuff.
like that. It
Yeah.
just like because now like it's very easy to see any movie or show or whatever. It kind of like makes it feel a little bit more exclusive,
Yeah.
which is
I
like
think
nice.
I think the road show out of any theatrical format could easily make a comeback because
yeah.
especially. I mean, if you don't market it kind of like how Avengers just did with the, hey, we're putting it back in theaters with some deleted scenes,
Yeah.
but if you like make it like an event
yeah,
and
Well,
make
'cause
that
people
fun again.
love exclusivity. They love to
Yeah.
do things that nobody else has done.
Oh, sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up. We were going to talk about Stranger Things, but we're actually going to save it for another episode.
Yeah, there's too much to talk about.
There's too much to talk
honestly.
about. Also,
It good.
Christian hasn't
Yeah.
seen, so we don't want to spoil
It's
it.
You
great.
know what? Now I'm excited for the next episode,
All
so
I
I
gotta
can
say- yeah.
I can actually.
All I gotta
contribute
say
to
is
the
that it's
conversation.
really good, and I liked it more than the second season.
I,
Yeah,
I
a
love this
lot
season
more than
more
the
than
second
the second
season.
season.
I like this way more than the first season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, which I know is a bold statement.
That's bold.
It's
a
but you know
very
what? I
bold-
respect you for it.
Doesn't- it
but
doesn't
I love
focus on
80s
all the
mall
nostalgia.
scenes.
Yeah.
Like I'm a sucker
Yeah, same.
for 80s mall scenes.
Yeah.
Like that's
Apparently,
why.
they're leaving the mall intact.
I was
Like,
wondering if they
that might
built
become
that.
like a. Oh no! Like they took an abandoned mall and completely
That's
85,
pretty cool.
80s-ified
That's awesome.
it. I think
Yeah.
the rumor I read was like they're gonna keep it that way moving forward.
should.
Because
They
if
should
they
make
do,
it like a place to like
like-
you can go and like look around like
Yeah.
an exhibit or something.
Yeah.
I would make it an exhibit. I would make it a mall that's purposely themed retro, but
That would
keep
be
all the
so
inside
sick.
kiosks.
Yo.
Keep all the inside
Yo.
kiosks.
That
modern.
would make bonkers cash.
I think
Yeah.
all malls should kind of do that now, to be honest with you. Like, think about it. When
Yeah.
was the last time you went to a mall that was actually that packed?
No, literally, like there's like maybe like 10 people walking around like
10 years ago, the Freehold Mall. but
Yeah.
that-
well, yeah, because
that's
like
about
that was
it.
when it was like big. That's
Just
Right.
recently went to the
Started blowing
Monmouth
up.
Mall. It was kind of pathetic. There were so many closed stores. Even,
Yeah.
even the Disney store checked out.
It's
Yeah.
pretty sad.
You know you're bad when Disney's leaving.
Exactly.
They're like, fuck.
They're like, oh shit.
Anyway, so yeah, look forward to that episode, and don't listen to this one because we suck. But
Movies
anyway.
suck.
Let me tell you, it was fun sitting with you guys. You guys are really fun.
We appreciate
I
that.
really can't wait to see Midsommar now.
Good. We're
Go see
glad.
it.
We're glad you're gonna watch it. Yeah. But anyway, this has been the Silver Screen Fiends podcast. I've been your host Sam,
I'm Joe.
And I'm perpetual special guest Blake.
and we've been back at A Shared Universe PodcaStudio with our engineer Big Kahuna, aka Christian, and we'll be back soon enough to.
Not the shithead Christian in the movie. I was not in Midsummer.
Yeah, please
okay?
don't confuse
Don't
the two, 'cause
confuse
it's
the
very
two.
easy.
I mean, based on visual appearance alone, I think it's.
It's hard to confuse.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back soon. We love you. I don't know about Joe.
I love you. Good
Like
night.
might, but
yeah,
anyway.
whatever.
All
Sweet
right.
dreams.
Bye bye.